Good morning. I'm really excited to be here. I was at the very first iMedia Summit. I've probably been to more than 20, but I really haven't been to many or in the last few years, and this is the biggest and best one there's ever been. So I'm excited to be here. I'm not excited about being stuck following Babs, because he is one of the smartest, most inspirational people, and it's not fair. So Mrs. Babs, you need to know, this guy's a rock star. And so I'm supposed to go before, not after. As Sarah mentioned, I have taken a career path that probably some, certainly I think within this industry may have thought was a bit unconventional. And I'm going to talk about it here today. I'm going to use that to try to frame something. I started in online advertising in 1992, so more than 20 years ago, before the web, and was involved in a couple companies. And so I don't think I'm a Luddite when it comes to the technology, but I made a choice more than 5 years ago to leave the online world. And I'm saying this not just for semantics or the effect, but really, to leave it, not to go back, and to go to television. And that may be blasphemous, but what I want to do is give you a point of view, what I believe is, and I spent a bunch of time with a lot of folks, believe might very well happen in this notion of the eventual convergence that we see between, let's say, the television world and the internet world. And I think it matters how it converges if, in fact, you care about your company, your job, who will win, and who might lose. And so that's what I'm going to do. And then the idea of it is also to set that up so that that will be something that we're going to talk about on the panel, which I'm moderating right afterwards. And so this is the future of TV and video advertising. This is a point of view, and you may agree with it, you may disagree with it, but it's what I think is very likely to happen. I came out of online. I have some real biases. Obviously, I am working in the television world today. I chose to go there. I've chosen to invest a lot of money and risk a lot of people's career, persuade folks, I guess folks to risk their careers and investors to risk their money. So I have absolute biases. And fundamentally, the premise that I want to talk about is that I don't think television is going to go to the web. I don't think TV advertising is going to the web. I think web-like advertising, technology, and business models are coming to TV. And I think it matters if you understand that difference. And one of the things that I was very inspired by Rashad in having very clear sort of takeaways yesterday from what he talked about. But one of the things I did in trying to think about the future of the business was to try to step back and step away from the digital world I was living in and had been at that point for 15 years, and to try to sort of reframe and rethink about what I thought the future of advertising and media might be. So I think does everyone here believe that we at some point between today and 20 years are going to have a world where what we know as television and what we know as internet protocol delivered video, the distinction won't matter at all to anybody in at least by 20 years? Do we all agree with that? Okay, but I think how it happens matters. And so I tried to frame out here, and I worked with Jack Myers in developing this, and also spent a bunch of time with Nielsen, and we had a bunch of dinners with a lot of folks in the industry, digital, technology, and media, to talk about this. But tried to frame, what does the TV market, advertising market look like today relative to the digital video market? What's it likely to look like in 3 to 5 years? And then what's it likely to look like in, let's say, 7 to 10 years? So the the one on the left is today. And so you have basically a $74 billion advertising market in television. That's why it's the really big circle. You have a significantly smaller circle, and these are US numbers, a significantly smaller circle beside it that is digital video. And in spite of hearing that everybody is screen agnostic in advertising today, which is absolute bullshit. I mean, that doesn't exist. I mean, you can't say that your agency or your client is screen agnostic when broadcast TV is bought separately from cable TV, national is bought separately from local, syndicated and DR are all bought separately, and it's all on the same screen. You know, so it's a nice aspiration, but today it is all quite separate, as I think most of you know. And those circles are quite separate. There's a little bit of coordination in campaigns. Folks like, Peter Naylor, when he was at NBC, was packaging, coordinating web video with TV buys. There's virtually no integration, although we're starting to see things like Nielsen's cross-campaign ratings that may bring some of that. What drives the biggest differences between those circles? Well, consumer behavior. About 96-97% of all video viewed in the United States today is viewed on a television set as part of a multi-channel package. And that actually, the spend relatively equates to that. Now that's probably likely to change. Now I live in Manhattan, and everybody, of course, that I work with and talk to tells me that, it's all delayed viewing and no one watches live TV live anymore, and they all watch it on their iPads and no one has cable. And a lot of people in New York are probably like that. But I grew up in a small coal town in western Pennsylvania, and I think I have a little different sense that the rest of America works. One of the biggest reasons those circles are so big and different and the viewing is separate is, does anybody have any idea, want to guess how much money is spent on creating new television programming each year? Now, I'll give you a reference. Google decided to go big last year and increased its investment from $70 million to $140 million for original programming. How much does the television industry spend? Or actually, how much does CBS spend if you just want to pick a company? CBS spent $3.3 billion last year on new programming. $3.3 billion, and it's only 6% of TV. The TV industry spent $35 billion last year on new programming, up $1.5 billion from last year. That $1.5 billion is more than twice as much as all companies spend on digital and web video production. So TV increased twice as much as everything spent on that little circle. However, I do think what's going to happen is that in 3 to 5 years, we're going to see those circles come closer together. And certainly within 10 years, we're going to see them come together significantly. And one of the reasons it's going to take that long is because, do you know how many Americans don't have access to broadband today in their homes? 100 million. So if you actually care about reaching most of America, or the majority of America, you really got to be in a place where it actually can be wired up like that. So I do think at that point it'll be different. Now you wonder what the coloring is on these slides? The coloring on these slides represents the amount of that media that could be bought or sold or measured or integrated or accounted for on a data-driven, audience-denominated basis on something more granular than sex, age, demographic, gross rating points. TV, there's none. Well, there's actually a tiny little blue dot there, but it's really tiny. My company sits way inside that little tiny dot, little gnat on a flea on a... On digital video, it's all that way. And then those little white dots are how much is likely to be automated programmatic. And obviously, while all of digital video can be bought audience-based, some of it now is starting to be programmatic. I think the biggest innovation that's going to happen, and it's going to happen on TV in a big way fast, before we have convergence, is that the audience-based and data-driven approaches of the web are going to come to TV. And that's with that big blue circle inside the 2018 circle on television. That within 5 years, $30 billion of TV is going to be transacted in a way that was different than it was before. Only a small portion will be programmatic or automated. Most of digital video will be automated, and by the time they come together, they all will be. Why? How will this look like? Well, today, if you think of the marketing funnel, and you think of online tells you impressions, visitors, unique visitors, brand lift, cost per clicks, cost per acquisition, and sales, top to bottom. TV only tells you one thing: impressions on a gross rating point basis based on sex, age, demographics. There are some, you can do studies and do some other things to try to fill it, but there are no sort of currency metrics in the business. And I think the biggest thing that is going to happen in digital video is this, and that over the next 5 years, the whole TV funnel stack is going to build out. TV is going to be as measurable, not as targetable, but as measurable as the web. You're going to see it go down to visitors, unique visitors, and sales, all the way to sales. And most fundamentally, it is going to be linked and integrated with online. And so when McDonald's, which cannot decrease its TV spend to less than 40% of its total marketing budget because it knows that store sales will suffer and they will get fired. The last president of McDonald's got fired for doing that. They'll actually know which spots work and they can make their spots count. And so I think this is going to be the biggest innovation, and I think whoever wins on that side is going to likely win on the TV side. And the point I want to leave you all with before I go into this panel is I think you owe it all to yourselves, your companies, and your careers to step back a little bit from what has been sort of our acronym-filled sort of splitting hairs over a smaller amount of advertising and media and realize the biggest opportunity for all of us, we're all going to be responsible for the media and advertising 10 years from now. And the biggest changes and disruption and opportunities are going to be built around how this $30 billion of TV ad spend is handled, because there isn't enough scale on mobile phones, tablets, and PCs to absorb it and to deliver the sales that it needs to. But TV is going to look like that, and people with your skill sets will be the ones to drive it. And so, with that as a setup, I'm very excited to bring in two of the very smartest folks in both the agency and the client side that are focused on the data and the metrics and the technologies that are driving these. I have Julian Zilberbrand of Zenith and Aaron Fetters of General Mills. Come on up.